Viva Las Vegas! This is a weekend that I have been looking forward to a lot. First 1.5 mile track of the season, and since we all know NASCAR is full of them, uh, so this race was pretty pivotal and will set the tone for what the rest of the season will look like. So, how did it go? Let's get into it. Okay, so for the Truck Series race, we had some late night Truck Series action, at least for those people who lived on the east coast of the United States. The race started at 10 p.m. for me, like the green flag, not the pre-race coverage or stuff like that. I don't really have access to that anymore. I've never had. It's very rare for me to have access to like pre-race coverage, but the race started. The green flag at the very least. I think it was waved at around 10 p.m. So I had to stay up until late at night for that. But the race was pretty exciting from the get-go. We had like 6 trucks fighting for the lead. There was Kyle Busch, John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, Ben Rhodes, Chandler Smith, Christian Eckes. Those guys were like the main names to the main guys who were near the front today. Also, I don't know. I don't know if this is just me, but the trucks look really faster to me than they had ever been. I don't know if this is just me or if they really did something to these trucks for like 2022. So, but it looked to me like the trucks were going faster. Of course, there was the typical caution as they go into commercials moment. And someone has to make a counter of that eventually. Somebody has to do how many commercials Fox does, how many commercials Fox goes into, and then a caution happens while they go into the commercials. Yeah, they need to keep a counter of that for both Fox and NBC, because I know NBC has done it quite a few times as well. They're just as guilty, but Fox is more egregious. The cautions were a bit long too, a bit on the longer side, and this was kind of a theme throughout the weekend. The racing was clean overall though, except on, of course, the late stage restarts when everybody goes 5 wide for everyone trying to scramble to get some stage points. That's always a ticking time bomb when it happened. But yeah, overall. But overall, when they weren't crashing into each other, the restarts were pretty entertaining. Las Vegas restarts, they're very underrated. Everything about this race was great, or almost everything, depending on who you ask. But one of the highlights of this race to me was Ben Rhodes. He ran an unsponsored truck, which once again plays in part with the typical defending series champion. A driver wins a truck series championship, and then the very next season they lose their sponsorship. It happened to Brett Moffitt this season. It happened to Brett Moffitt back in 2019 when he left Hattori to go to GMS, or he was released from Hattori to go to GMS, and over at GMS, he didn't have that many sponsors. Then Sheldon Creed, when he won the title in 2020, he was unsponsored in 2021, and now it's Ben Rhodes. Like, I know the company that sponsored him last year, I believe it was Bombardier. They stopped making the Learjets, which were the branch of the company that like sponsored Ben Rhodes, and because of that, they had to pull their sponsorship. But you're still meaning to tell me that's still no excuse. You're still meaning to tell me that the defending series champion cannot get a sponsorship. Hell, even Todd Bodine, and I'm mentioning him because he is back. Shout out to Todd Bodine, by the way. But yeah, Todd Bodine, he even struggled back in 2010. I remember he struggled with sponsorship during that championship season. He won the championship, and yet he was still struggling with sponsorship. Even in 2011, even in the following season, he was still struggling with sponsorship to such an extent that Germain Racing, they had to sell their truck series operation to Randy Moss Motorsports. I believe that's what happened. But yeah, Ben Rhodes won both stages, but in true manner to the stage winner's curse, he didn't win the race. It's like a curse at this point. Like every driver, like the worst thing that can happen to you is win the first two stages, because then that means you most likely won't win the race. It happened to John Hunter Nemechek at Daytona. It happened to John Hunter Nemechek in that truck race at Daytona. Then Daniel Hemrick in the Xfinity race, Brian Truex Jr. in the Cup race, then Tyler Reddick in the Cup race at Fontana the very next week, and now this week it's Ben Rhodes. So 5 different drivers have swept both stages this season, and all 5 of them have failed to get to victory lane. It's just crazy. But yeah, this race was mainly Kyle Busch Motorsports versus Thor Sport. Although Kyle Busch Motorsports was more on the dominant side. They ran 1, 2, 3 for a good portion of the race, but the race was still up for grabs. This wasn't like your typical Kyle Busch domination that you usually see in the Truck Series. At one point, it looked like Christian Eckes, he had it in the bag, and then he threw a bad block on Kyle Busch. And look, I like Christian Eckes a lot. I think I think they gave up on him a bit too early. I think Kyle Busch Motorsports, they gave up on him a bit too early. Good to see him back on his feet at Thor Sport. I expect big things from him, but that wasn't it. That wasn't it. That was a terrible block, a terrible attempt at a block. He just took himself out there. And then we had this amazing finish where it looked to me like Kyle Busch could have taken a 3 wide between Chandler Smith and Zane Smith, but then Chandler Smith just made an amazing move. He took Kyle Busch's air. He went outside. He took Kyle Busch's air, and then coming off of turn 2, he just broke Zane Smith's ankles. He just dove down low. This all happened on the final lap, by the way. This was also epic to see. He took Zane Smith on the inside. He crossed them over, and then he just sailed away to victory lane. Now, of course, even if Chandler Smith didn't pull off that move, he would have won the race anyways, because Zane Smith got disqualified because of having too many loose lug nuts. I don't know if it was too many loose lug nuts or if the issue was the lug nuts themselves, but still, this was a hard-fought victory for Chandler Smith. Of course, there was also a lot of pandemonium on those those final 2 laps that NASCAR, race control, and the broadcast, they didn't catch. There was this incident with 2 laps to go. Spencer Boyd hit the wall hard. He dislocated his shoulder. Of course, he expects to be cleared by the race at Atlanta, but still, that was a very concerning situation. When a driver gets injured, it's a very, very concerning situation. And the fact that they kept the race under green while Spencer Boyd was still with a wrecked car on the infield, yeah, I don't know about that. There was also this final lap incident. Okay, this incident happened like at 2 laps earlier, or a lap or 2 ago. Derek Krause, he got a bit, like Ben Rhodes said it himself, he got a bit funky with Grant Enfinger, John Hunter Nemechek. He caused tire ups on both of them. Krause saved it, but Enfinger and John Hunter, they had a tire up. Enfinger eventually blew a tire, hit the wall, his car caught on fire, and then John Hunter Nemechek on the very next lap, I think it was the final lap. Oh no, now that I think about it, they wrecked on the same lap. It was the final lap. John Hunter Nemechek also blew a tire, and then he spun, and he got hit by Jordan Anderson. So we got a lot of wrecked cars at the end. No caution for NASCAR, and the broadcast booth on Fox, they really missed all of that. So that was just even though the finish was amazing, the coverage was just overall terrible. Race control, in my opinion, did a terrible job. I think, yeah, it was an amazing race, but looking back on it, that race should have ended under caution, because it definitely, all of that carnage definitely warranted a caution, gotta say. But yeah, the main highlight of this race, outside of Chandler Smith winning, of course, the racing was great overall for a truck series. Compared to the truck series last year, like, it's wonders how the difference between no practice, no qualifying, and having practice and qualifying does for the truck series. The racing is so much cleaner now, and it really shows that, especially for these young drivers, practice and qualifying, it is really important for them. And we are seeing the results of it already in this season, early on this season. But yeah, shout out to Todd Bodine, by the way. Good to see him back. Now, the Xfinity race was a lot more interesting. A lot more happened in this race. The main storyline leading up into the race was a lot of drivers going to the rear, most notably the drivers that were involved in some sort of accident after the Fontana race, because NASCAR met up with teams and crews and said that in order to cut costs, and because it's the West Coast swing, NASCAR said that if you crash your car at Fontana, you're going to have to start at the rear at Las Vegas, because they're treating this as some sort of doubleheader. So anyways, that's why we saw a lot of drivers starting off to the rear, going off to the rear. But anyways, from the start of the race, Ty Gibbs became aggressive. And this is something that is really starting to worry me, because we saw glimpses of that last season. And when he was a part-time rookie last season, that's no harm, no foul. He was just getting to know these drivers. No big deal. But now that he is running full-time, he really, and I mean really, needs to calm down, because this will eventually come back to bite him. And we saw some of that. We saw a glimpse of what could happen if he keeps this up with Ryan Sieg himself. Now, I'm going to get into Ryan Sieg, into this right now, because, I mean, I could make a separate video similar to what I did with the Kyle Larson Chase Elliott situation last week, but compared to that situation, I don't have much to talk about it, so I might as well do it here. But yeah, Ty Gibbs versus Ryan Sieg. Ty Gibbs, he didn't really wreck Ryan Sieg, but he was running him aggressively. He got into the rear of him, into the rear bumper, of course. And that got him loose. He pushed a lot of air into the rear bumper. That got him loose, and because of that, he wrecked. He didn't technically bump him. Maybe there was like a little bit of contact there. I don't know, but the point is that all of this happened because Ty Gibbs was running him aggressively. And I gotta say, that kid, he has a lot to learn. I like him. I really think he's gonna do a lot of big things in NASCAR, but he needs to use his head more in situations like this. Like, I know him apologizing. I know he apologized and he said, "Oh, bro, I didn't mean to wreck you on purpose." Which of course, I mean, I believe that because he has never done that. But that's not the point, and that's not what Ryan. And that's what really irked Ryan Sieg. That really got him mad. I think it was that Ty Gibbs was missing the point. It's not about wrecking. It's not about whether you wrecked them on purpose or not. It's about you. It's about you learning that you cannot. That it's about learning when to be aggressive and when not to be. And when it's lap 3 or lap 4 of the race, when the race has just started, that is not the right time to be aggressive, because then that's just gonna put a target on your back for the rest of the race, possibly the rest of the season. And I think that's the message that Ryan Sieg was trying to send when he retaliated on Ty Gibbs. Now, I'm going to say this. Ryan Sieg was 100% justified to wreck Ty Gibbs, because if you look at his situation from his perspective, he drives for a small team, a small family-owned team. Now, of course, a lot of people have said that Ty Gibbs, he also drives for his family team, but it's not the same thing because Ryan Sieg's family-owned team is a small team. Ty Gibbs' family-owned team is a big Joe Gibbs Racing, one of the best teams in NASCAR. It's not about just family-owned teams, it's also about the resources they have access to. Compared to Ryan Sieg, Ty Gibbs has access to much more resources over at his family's team than Ryan Sieg himself. So of course, I felt Ryan Sieg I don't have a problem with Ryan Sieg retaliating because he was 100% justified. I mean, you got wrecked on like the first 4 laps of the race. You already have a junk car because of a guy driving for for one of the bigger teams in NASCAR. He just could not. He just couldn't use his head and didn't know when to be aggressive and when to not. So that's fine by me. I perfectly understood why Ryan Sieg was slighted felt some type of way towards Ty Gibbs. He even said it towards the weather delay, which we're gonna get into it because that weather delay was crazy. But yeah, they talked about it in the weather delay, and it looked like it had just simmered down. But then Ryan Sieg sent a message and said he's gonna learn his lesson soon. I did not expect him to retaliate right now, and I did not expect Ryan Sieg to retaliate the way he did because I gotta say, that was one of the most pathetic attempts at retaliation I have ever seen. Even more pathetic than the Danica versus Landon Castle 10 years ago, where the famous quote of rule number 1 of stock car racing. Bro, Ryan Sieg violated that rule and more. If you guys didn't know, rule number 1 of stock car racing is learn how to wreck someone without wrecking yourself. Now, of course, I do not think that Ryan Sieg meant to wreck Ty Gibbs. It just felt like he just wanted to put him in the wall or something like that, or just rob his fenders a little bit, just give him a tire rub. I'm fine with that. But the way in which he did it, he was just like violating minimum speed. He was just pacing around the track slowly, and then when the 54 came up to him, he just shot up the track and tried to put him in the wall. He failed, he spun, and then Brett Moffitt and Sheldon Creed got involved. They hit the wall trying to avoid him. So not only did he fail in his retaliation attempt, that retaliation attempt was pathetic. That was like Jeff Gordon vibe. That gave me like Jeff Gordon vibes in 2012 at Clint Bowyer. And even Joey Logano, who was in the booth again, by the way, he said it himself because if you guys remember, during that Jeff Gordon Clint Bowyer incident back in 2012, Logano was also involved. He was caught as an innocent bystander. So I really understood his point of view because, I mean, he's been there before. So yeah, that was just not a good look for Ryan Sieg. I used to feel sorry for him when that incident happened, but now that he made that retaliation attempt look pathetic, I gotta say, I don't feel sorry for him anymore. I kind of lost a bit of respect for him there. At least if you're going to make a retaliation attempt, then do it right. And a lot of people said, oh, Ryan Sieg, he deserves a second chance because this is not the first time Ty Gibbs has done that. No. Ryan Sieg had his chance and he wasted it. If he keeps trying to push this narrative and then and try to keep wrecking Ty Gibbs all season long, when Ty Gibbs has said, and Ty Gibbs said it best during his interview during the weather delay, that he wants to move on from Ryan Sieg. Like he expects Ryan Sieg to retaliate and he won't do anything about it because. And for good reason, because he's thinking big picture. He eventually knows that NASCAR is going to step in eventually. And if Ryan Sieg keeps this up, NASCAR's going to have to step in. Because you saw how Ryan Sieg did it. I think they're going to give him a warning because compared to what Jeff Gordon did, it was not as egregious. Because what Ryan Sieg did was not as egregious compared to what Jeff Gordon did. But I still believe that, well, he got called to the NASCAR hauler, of course. I still believe he needs to get given a warning for that because that was that was wild. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, we had our first weather delay of the season, anyways. It was bound to happen eventually. I mean, at some point, because every time a NASCAR race It seems like every time a NASCAR is on a racetrack this week, and Mother Nature always has to make her presence known. So we had our first weather delay of the season in today's Xfinity race. It was bound to happen, but at Las Vegas, of all places, a desert, and it wasn't even rain. Notice how I didn't say rain delayed, because it wasn't rain. It was a weather delay, but it was snow. It was literal snow in Las Vegas. Which is really funny because, I speak Spanish. English is not my first language. I speak Spanish, and Nevada means snowing in Spanish. It literally, that's like a rough translation. Nevada means snow or snowing in Spanish. So that was just really funny to me how a lot of people were saying, it's snowing in Vegas, it's snowing in the desert. To me, it's not that surprising. Nevada means snow in Spanish, and I speak Spanish, so anyways. So, Stage 1 was all about Ty Gibbs and Ryan Sieg. Stage 2 was all about Joe Graf Jr. And ever since last week's race at Fontana, Joe Graf Jr. doesn't really have the best reputation among NASCAR fans. He is a decent driver. I'm going to say this. This is kind of an unpopular opinion. I think he's a decent driver, but I don't think he is anything special either. But man, he's just had a lot of bad luck. From he's driving the same car that Cole Custer took to victory lane at Fontana last week. Now, of course, I'm of the opinion that that car that Cole Custer won, that car was prepared by Stewart-Haas Racing, because he is a Stewart-Haas Racing driver. Now, SS Greenlight Racing, they have a technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing, but that doesn't mean that SHR is going to prepare their cars, unless it's Cole Custer or Chase Briscoe who are going to be driving their cars. Joe Graf Jr., sure, he was driving the same 07 car that Cole Custer took to victory lane, but that car wasn't prepared by Stewart-Haas Racing in any way, shape, or form compared to how the 07 car was prepared last week. But still, it's a terrible look. That car going to from that car going to victory lane to that car causing 2 accidents in stage 2. He took out Cal Weatherman and Matt Mills. Cal Weatherman was just a misjudgment. He just spun him out. And then Matt Mills, that was the spotter's fault. Spotter told the 07 that he was clear when he wasn't, slamming to Matt Mills. Matt Mills hit the wall hard. So, yep. Noah Graxson, keeping up with the stage winner curse. Noah Graxson, he won both stages, which of course meant that he wasn't going to win the race. And he did not. Even though he was the best car of the race, him and Justin Allgaier were the best cars of the race in my opinion. And JR Motorsports, they dominated this race. No, Graxson didn't win the race. He came close though. He finished second. And I thought that he had the race lost in stage 3 when stage 3 they went the long green flag run. Ty Gibbs had the best long run car, but Graxson and Allgaier were leading. They were running 1-2. With just like 5 laps before green flag pit stops, Larson made an unscheduled pit stop. He was the first guy to pit. It was like 5 laps before the green flag pit window happened, but still, that kind of put him in fuel trouble if the race went green the rest of the way. And of course, that put him on a tire disadvantage compared to the other guys. He managed to hold on to second though, because a caution came out, which we'll get into that later. But yeah, that caution was a lucky break for Graxson, because if the race went green the rest of the way, he could have possibly run out of fuel, because he was like 2 laps short on fuel, according to what his crew were telling him. But still, that caution was a lucky break. And speaking of that caution, we need to have a serious talk about Jesse Woogie. Now, don't get me wrong. Jesse Woogie is a great guy. I really like what the guy stands for. I really like his story of how he came into NASCAR and stuff like that. Like, I really love how enthusiastic he is and how he wants to get into the sport, uh, and how he wants to get involved in the sport. He is one of the most enthusiastic person. I really wish the best in his endeavors, but he's just not that good of a driver. And there is absolutely no way he makes it through the full season in the 34, because that guy is pacing at barely minimum speed, but even running at minimum speed, that means you're rolling chicane literally. That this guy, he spun out on his own early in the race, and then in stage 3, he spun out again, and he collected Ryan Vargas, which he was understandably mad about. And he also collected Stephen Parsons. He collected 2 guys from small teams which are trying to get good finishes and having a good points day. He ruined those guys' days. Because why? Because he's a rolling chicane. And I really didn't want to talk about this because, again, Jesse Wood is a nice guy, but I'm sorry. This had to be said. I'm sorry. Again, he is a great guy, and I really like how his team is a partnership between him and Emmitt Smith, NFL Hall of Famer, by the way. He brought another sports celebrity into NASCAR. That's always good, but I think Jesse Wood would do better. It would be better for Jesse Wood if he at the very least dropped down to part-time, to like a part-time driver, or if he became like a full-time owner in the meantime while he keeps getting some reps as a driver, because so far I haven't seen anything that looks to me like Iwuji being he's not even a decent driver. He's just a bad driver. I'm gonna say it. He is just a bad driver. I know I'm going off on the guy. He just makes me feel mean, but then again, it just needed to be said. So from that point on, the race became a breed cautions thing, similar to last week at Fontana. The first restart, the drivers went to pit, of course, so that fuel wasn't an issue anymore. And Noah Graxson immediately made a power move and took the lead away from Allgaier. Ty Gibbs was there. Daniel Hemrick was there. Then another caution came out. Sam Mayer hit the wall. Poor guy just couldn't catch a break. This was honestly the best race I have ever seen out of Sam Mayer, and it ended with him getting hitting the wall. That really sucks. And then there was another restart, another crash happened. Ryan Truex got into Austin Hill. That was a really tough hit by Austin Hill, by the way. And he collected other guys. Riley Herbst, again, just like Sam Mayer, Riley Herbst cannot catch a break at his home track of Las Vegas, of all places. Just wanted to see that, because he had run a decent race too. It was just a shame to see him caught up in that wreck after he had kept the car clean like all race long. But still, another restart happened. This ended up being the final restart of the race. Ty Gibbs got a huge push from Justin Allgaier on the restart. A lot of people thought that he had jumped the restart, but no. Ty Gibbs crossed the start-finish line before Graxson, but that was because he was being pushed by Justin Allgaier. Now, a lot of people are saying, a lot of Graxson fans are mad that Allgaier did that move, but you guys got to remember, when Justin Allgaier wanted Noah Graxson to push him so they could clear Ty Gibbs or Daniel Hemrick and those guys, what did Noah Graxson do? He took a 3 wide instead of helping his teammate Allgaier. So that's why Allgaier repaid the favor in kind by not tucking in behind Graxson and not pushing him. So that's why instead of Graxson, Allgaier decided to push Ty Gibbs. And then that was all she wrote. Like, Graxson tried to catch him. Graxson tried to catch Ty Gibbs, but Ty Gibbs held him off. And then a caution came out on the final lap, and that was it. So Ty Gibbs won the race. And this is not the last time we will see him in victory lane this season either. And this is not the last time we will see him fighting for wins against Noah Graxson. Because those two guys, that's going to be the theme this season. That's going to be like the main... I believe this is going to be like the main rivalry this season. Ty Gibbs versus Noah Graxson. Two of the guys that are like the favorite that entered this season as the favorites to win the Xfinity title. Of course, there are a few other guys like the aforementioned Allgaier, Allmendinger, the defending champion Daniel Hemrick, as well as Josh Berry, which is my dark horse pick to win the title. But yeah, shout out to Ryan Sieg, because by Ty Gibbs winning, Ryan Sieg just looked real goofy today. Not only did he fail to retaliate on Ty Gibbs, not only did he do it, but he also caused an accident. And in the end, it didn't matter because Ty Gibbs ended up winning the race anyway. So, yeah, that's tough. Also a tough break for Joe Graf Jr. because just like Saint Smith in the truck race, Joe Graf Jr. also got disqualified due to a lock nut issue. So he also gets last place. Imagine that. That 07 car, from winning last week at Fontana to now causing 2 wrecks and finishing in last place because of a disqualification. Yeah, that really sucks. That really sucks. This was a really but yeah, this was a really fun race overall, just like the truck race. And Las Vegas is quickly becoming one of the more underrated 1.5 mile tracks, similar to Chicagoland. And now, of course, now that Chicagoland's no longer on the schedule, it looks like Las Vegas is now the most underrated 1.5 mile track. Of course, a lot of that can be attributed to the racing package, because we'll get into that later, because a lot of drivers have some things to say about the 550 horsepower package. That was really funny, because no one likes that. After what we have seen from NASCAR, this is my key takeaway of this weekend. Like, after what I have seen from NASCAR so far this season, I do not want to go back to anything like the 550 horsepower package again. So far, I know this is like I know we haven't seen much. It's been like 3 races this season. We've only been 3 races into the season, but I'm already loving this package, this aero package for the next gen car. Now, as for the Cup race, this was a race that I was really looking forward to, as this race was gonna give us a taste of not only who the real contenders for this season will be, but also how the racing at the 1.5 mile tracks will look like. My main question, or rather my main concern, was, will tires be an issue? Because I saw Kyle Busch's practice crash, and then with a competition caution on lap 30 to check tire wear. Sure, in the end, not many tire-related incidents happened, but the fact that the NASCAR made that decision before the race, the morning before the race, it raised some cause for concern, because this is the second time that this has happened already. If you remember, in Fontana, NASCAR also decided the morning before the race there was going to be a competition caution early in the race to check tire wear. So even if nothing ended up happening during the race, this meant that NASCAR, they really didn't feel or have enough trust in their tires. And of course, this is really alarming. I don't want this to be a trend for the season again. Fix the tires, NASCAR. So overall, Kyle Larson looked pretty fast in practice and qualifying, but Christopher Bell just stole the pole from him. And I gotta say, Christopher Bell is another one of those guys who is poised to have a great season, because just like Tyler Reddick, just like Larson, Chase Briscoe, Stenhouse, Christopher Bell, he has late model experience. Eric Jones is also another one of those guys that has late model experience. So the next gen car, it really caters to those guys who started out their careers on dirt. And speaking of Kyle Busch, this looked like another bad season for him, because his weekend was terrible. He got gear shifter. After that practice crash, he had to start from the rear because the car was not even put together. Like the backup car was not even put together. The entire team had to work overnight, and not just the 18 team. There was also like the entire Joe Gibbs Racing crew. They had to. Everyone pitched in to give their played their part to have that 18 car ready for race day. Kyle had to start from the rear. Then he spun in stage 1 early on during a restart. But then he finished 9th in stage 1. Of course, then he got into some minor scuffle with Briscoe. That he apparently in the final lap of the race he put him in the wall. Kyle took exception to that. Briscoe did nothing wrong, in my opinion. I don't know what Kyle Busch's deal was. I'm sorry. This is like the final lap of the stage, and yeah, they're racing for stage points, but every point matters. Then he hit the wall late in stage 2. I fully expected that tire to blow up, but it did not. Again, another reason to love the next gen car. He finished 5th. He finished 5th in stage 2. Then he ran second in stage 3, and then he had a vibration 15 laps before green flag pit stops, but then he got the lead. Then a caution came out, he got the lead, and then he just sailed away, and we're gonna talk about that later. But yeah, back to the tires. Nothing happened much to the tire wear. Like, the tire wasn't really much. We only had like one tire related incident, I believe. It was with Austin Cindric, where he blew a tire and he spun out in stage 3 after getting like a tire up from Eric Amarola. I don't know what happened, but yeah. And there were no drivers flat spotted the tires after a spin. We didn't see any drivers flat spotting tires, like and a lot of drivers spun. This was like a really caution-filled race, and this is like another trend we're going to see. Like a lot of as drivers start figuring out like this new next-gen car, we're gonna see a lot of caution-filled races early on. A lot of broken records for cautions at some tracks. I even saw that this is like the second longest Las Vegas race in NASCAR history. The second longest Las Vegas Cup race. The longest one was, of course, 2009, but that race was like 285 laps for some reason. I believe it was sponsor related, but I digress. But anyways, Cole Custer, Kyle Busch, Justin Haley, Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, Harrison Burton, and Bubba Wallace, and Eric Jones. All of them had drivers spin throughout the race. I know that maybe this is not like the complete list, but I may have missed like a few drivers here and there, but this was a really this was really, even Mike Joy said it, Spin City. Instead of Sin City, it was Spin City, like overall. So track position was also, and also before we move on, I have to talk about like this new issue that has happened with the next gen car. Not just the transaxle, but also the diffuser, the right rear, like around the right rear tire, especially. Diffuser, it seems like to be this new splitter damage from like the next gen car. It doesn't bother me as much as the car's getting destroyed and launched in the air. We saw that with Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, even Chase Briscoe. I believe Briscoe dropped out because of some issue related to that, to the diffuser. Now, of course, this is certainly related to the tires, falling apart. We saw that a couple of times, but I'm gonna say this: this doesn't really bother me as much as the splitter digging into the grass and killing the car literally. I know Las Vegas. I believe Las Vegas was built with turf. I don't know if they have turf, but it's really hard to tell because, man, the step splitter is really, I really love this step splitter on the next gen car. This is one of the best decisions NASCAR, one of the best like design decisions NASCAR made, because now we don't have to worry about whether it's grass or turf. So Of course, we still have to deal with that diffuser now, but I'd rather take that over a wrecked car due to digging into the grass. So, anyways, Alex Bowman won stage 1, and Brad Keselowski, he just could not catch a break. In stage 2, early on in stage 2, McDowell, he shot Briscoe coming off of turn 4. McDowell hit Briscoe, or rather, he got in front of Briscoe. That really upset Briscoe's car. He got loose, just a racing incident. I'm not gonna blame anybody there. And then he hit Suarez, and he just caught Suarez, and that really broke my heart, because especially after that 4th place finish at Fontana, especially coming off of that, now it's like back to normal for Suarez, and that really broke my heart. Like the way he got taken out of that race, it just really took a lot of excitement out of me, because I really wanted to see what Suarez could do. I was seeing, especially as Ross Chastain was moving up the field, especially. Another thing that happened in stage 2 was the Brad Keselowski experience. He's gotten 4 incidents in 3. He's been involved in 4 incidents in 3 races. He has caused an incident in every single race, and this time he took out Ryan Blaney. Now, just like the race at Las Vegas, just like the last week's race, there was a new face up front. Last week it was Tyler Reddick. This week it was Ross Chastain. He won stage 2, and it was also the first stage win for Trackhouse. Also, this was the first good race for Toyota this season. Joe Gibbs Racing, they ran top 10 for most of the race. There was even a point in stage 2 where Ross Chastain was leading the race, and right behind Chastain, 2nd through 9th, there was all 4 Hendrick cars and all 4 Joe Gibbs Racing cars, 2nd through 9th, right behind Chastain. It was like Ross Chastain and then all 4 Hendrick, all 4 Gibbs cars fighting to catch that Trackhouse car. It was really cool to see. 2311, they also showed up late in the race. Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace, they both cracked the top 10. And then late in the race, during green flag pit stops, Hamlin, who had a top 5 car basically all day, he just made, I'm not going to say it was a rookie mistake, but I guess this was something of a muscle memory related mistake, that he just really put the blame on it, that he was just a terrible thing that he did. Coming off of a green flag pit stop, he downshifted. The man just downshifted. He went through 2nd all the way onto 4th gear. And then when he realized that the next gen car has a new shifting pattern compared to the Gen 6's normal shifting pattern that Hamlin's accustomed to, of course that muscle memory from the Gen 6 kicked in, and it ended up like killing the transmission for Hamlin. Hamlin just ended up killing the transmission himself by just downshifting. He spun out, and then he stalled on the track, and he got to be towed. He got to be pushed to pit road. And then when his pit crew realized that the car was killed, man, that was really heartbreaking. This was like Hamlin just shooting himself in the foot. Hamlin just shot himself in the foot, and it really sucked to see. So anyways, after that, green flag pits. It was during green flag pit stops, but not that many drivers had pitted. Kyle Busch, he ended up getting the lead after everything was sorted out, and it looked like he was going to win until when 3 laps to go, or 2 laps to go, I don't know. Eric Jones, he got loose, hit the wall really hard, and then he spun on the track. I don't know why race control didn't throw the caution out sooner. They waited until Jones was spinning out into the track again. I don't understand why, because that almost got Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace almost hit him. Fortunately, he didn't. But because of that, because of Bubba trying to check up, he spun out and he hit like the tire barrier. He was able to continue though, but it really ruined what could have been a potential top 10 run for him. That really upset me. The race went into overtime, and once again, another factor that was like throughout the race, it was track position. Now, compared to the Gen 6, where clean air mattered the most and track position was key, in the next gen car, tires matter more. Like, clean air still matter, but not as much as the tires. So track position, while it was less of a factor in this race than usual, it was still a factor. We saw guys like Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch either take 2 tires or stay out and try and hope that this green flag run is relatively short so they can keep their track position. But in the long run, especially in the long run, tires mattered, not as much as clean air. Which, again, this is another reason to love the next gen car, is that it's not very aero dependent. So, anyways, in overtime, the Hendrick Motorsports guys, Larson, Bowman, and Byron, they were actually the 3 best Hendrick cars. Chase Elliott was nowhere to be found. He was usually running around the top 10. He could crack the top 5 from time to time, but Elliott was mostly like a 6th to 10th place car. Sometimes even falling down to as low as like the top 15. But yeah, Larson, Bowman, and Byron, they restarted 1, 2, 3. Kyle Busch was the first guy with 4 fresh tires. He restarted like inside. He was the second car on the inside row, so he was restarting like third. If you could say he was like restarting third or fourth around that point. And then the restart came out, and sure enough, since it was just a 2-lap shootout, Bowman and Larson, they managed to hold on their track position, and they managed to keep it side by side up until turn 3 of the final lap. It looked like Larson was going to go high, and when Larson went high, I expected Larson to like make a move of a 4, but he didn't. He just let Bowman clear him, or Bowman clear Larson, and he won the race. This is Bowman's, and Alex Bowman just stole another one. Bowman now has 7 career wins, and 4 of those wins, he's won 4 of those races by stealing them from Kyle Larson in some way, shape, or form. If you remember, back in Chicagoland 2019, which was Bowman's first race, first ever career win, he straight up beat Larson at the end of that long green flag run. He just straight up beat Larson, and then Dover last year. Larson was the best car that race, and then until Bowman beat him on pit road, and then he managed to hold him off during that last long green flag run, and he managed to steal another one from Larson. Then at Pocono, in the last lap, the first Pocono race last year, Larson blew a tire in the last lap, and Bowman, who was running second, he capitalized and won the race. And now at Las Vegas, Bowman just straight up beats Larson on the late restart. And I gotta say, once again, Alex Bowman having a knack for stealing these races on either on a late race restart or by something happening to the leader. Bowman is always at the right place at the right time, and I don't know why people are saying that Bowman got lucky. If it wasn't for that good race he had at Phoenix in 2016, he wouldn't be a competent race car driver. He is so lucky. Look, Alex Bowman earned that win. Not every driver is going to earn their wins on speed. And I should know that, because I am a Kyle Busch fan, and I should be upset. I am supposed to be upset that Bowman just stole a win from what was supposed to be my favorite driver. But even as a Kyle Busch fan, I am not upset, because I firmly understand that some races are not going to be decided on speed. They're going to be decided on strategy. Of course, I would have loved to see that battle for the lead between Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. during the final few laps of the race, where you saw Kyle Busch like with 10 laps to go, Truex made his move, and then Kyle Busch just did the crossover on him. That was amazing to watch. But also, late race restarts are always fun, And even if my favorite driver doesn't win, I can still appreciate some good racing. And what's more, Alex Bowman. He was a top 5 car all race long, and he also won stage 1. He didn't let that many laps. He only led like 16 laps, but he was always in the top 5. And during that last caution, he made the right strategy call. He took 2 tires, and he got the lead. And then in that final restart, he straight up beat Larson, who is right now the best driver in the Cup Series. So what more do you want from him? This is not a lucky win. Alex Bowman this guy just definitely earned that win, and you people are all just saying, oh, Bowman didn't earn that win. Look at Kevin Harvick, for example. And Kevin Harvick, and I bring up Kevin Harvick because he was called the closer. A lot of people are now calling Bowman the new closer. A lot of people are saying, myself included, are saying that Bowman has taken the closer title away from Harvick. But if you look at Kevin Harvick and some of Kevin Harvick's wins, look at the 2007 Daytona 500, the 2011 Auto Club race, the 2011 Coca-Cola 600, the 2012 Fall Phoenix race, the one where Jeff Gordon and Clint Bowyer had their scuffle. All of those races, Harvick won them, and he wasn't the dominant car of the race. Just like Alex Bowman, Harvick started deep in the field, worked his way up, and he ended up being at the right place at the right time. Some late race restarts worked into his favor. Kevin Harvick won those races the same way Alex Bowman won the Las Vegas race, and when Harvick did it, people were singing his praises, calling him the closer. But when Alex Bowman does it, it's all I hear is Mickey Mouse win. He just got lucky with the final caution. I do not understand that. This is something that really pisses me off every time somebody like Alex Bowman or Justin Haley in the Xfinity Series, because Justin Haley also has a reputation of being like a quote-unquote lucky driver. This is overall just something that pisses me off about NASCAR fans in general. That people don't want to give credit to a driver when they win a race on strategy. They just say they got lucky. Yeah. But anyways, the main highlight of this race, the broadcast booth, like the coverage of this race was slightly better. I say coverage of the race because like the pre-race coverage, that skid between Larson and Elliott, that was just so cringe. I don't want Fox to ever do that again, please. Also, Danica Patrick was in the booth. She was not working. Like, she looked pretty lost. She looked pretty silent. She let Mike Joy do most of the talking. Clint Bowyer chimed in. And to be fair, Danica was not bad in the booth, but she, alongside Clint Bowyer, she's just a bad fit. She doesn't have that same dynamic with Bowyer like Matt Kenseth does. She doesn't have like the dry humor that Kenseth has to offset Bowyer's like colorful personality. But I gotta say, the coverage of this was like the first good race for Fox, like coverage wise. They didn't miss like any important details on the crash. They didn't miss like any important details on like if somebody wrecked or something happened on the track. They didn't miss any of that compared to the other Fox races so far, which has been every race so far, both trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. So I definitely appreciated that. But the booth, Mike Joy was just carrying the booth. Clint Bowyer, when he doesn't have like a Matt Kenseth or a Tony Stewart alongside him, he's just a slightly more annoying. And Danica wasn't a bad commentator, but she was just really silent. You just knew that she looked a bit lost, especially when the Christopher Bell spin happened. She had to be, people had to explain to her what the rear diffuser was, which just shows Danica's lack of experience in the booth. Again, that doesn't mean she's a bad commentator. I'm just saying that she's just a bad fit next to Mike Joy and Clint Bowyer. And finally, There was also this like funny moment when Danica Patrick was talking about drivers, and she just ended up jinxing it. Danica was just the embodiment of the commentator's curse that race, and it was just so funny because NASCAR Twitter also has his own version of the commentator's curse. Shout out to Black Flags Matter, by the way. But yeah, overall, this was another great race for the next gen car. I'm actually gonna be a bit high on this, and I'm gonna give it an A- for this. I kind of wanted to give it a B+, but I just kind of felt like I had already given Daytona and Auto Club a B+, and Las Vegas, for a 1.5 mile track, Las Vegas really impressed me, especially compared to like the past few years on the Gen 6. Never go back to the 550 horsepower package again. Like Christopher Bell said it best when he won what was his first career pole, actually, so shout out to him. But when Christopher Bell won the pole, he said, this car is so great to drive. It's so much better than the 550 horsepower package. And it's really showed, especially during the race, because you saw drivers like Chase Elliott especially, they were lifting. They were lifting because they didn't really like the handling of the car, so they were taking it a bit easy. Drivers were actually lifting because this is not the Gen 6 car, this is the next gen car. They were not only lifting, not only because of the next gen car being really loose and also harder to drive, but also because this new horsepower package, the 670 horsepower package, is so much better than the 550 horsepower package, where in that aero package 550 had to go full throttle on 1.5 mile tracks. No, hell no. 670 is the way to go. This aero package for the next gen car is the way to go. I think this was a really great first impression, and if this is a sign of things to come for how the racing will look like in the next gen car, then I am really looking forward to it. Las Vegas is really looking like a really great track with this horsepower package, and I cannot wait to see that playoff race. So anyways, this has been a really, really crazy start to this season. 25 drivers have already scored at least one top 10 this season. And we are just 3 races into the season, 3 out of 36. And we already have 25 of these. I believe there are 32 full-time drivers this season. 32. They have scored a top 10 this season. This is the most in NASCAR history. And the craziest part is that none of those 25 drivers are Denny Hamlin. How crazy is that? Like imagine telling someone that Denny Hamlin doesn't have a top 10 after the first 3 races of 2022, while 25 other drivers have. That's just so crazy. This playoff race is going to be crazy. This season is going to be crazy. This championship battle is going to be crazy. And I know that even for a 1.5 mile track, a Las Vegas, a race telling us who the real main contenders are, I still don't know who the championship favorite is right now. This season is just as wide open as it has ever been. And I'm just so excited for it.